Hey ho, we're back. Did you miss me? Can't keep a bitch down too long. Well, I have three options in front of you today for this themed pick a pile of how to upgrade your love life. And if you'd like to just skip ahead to the personal readings, that's more than fair. Otherwise, I will have a little bit of a collective message right after this initial choosing whichever pile fits right, just to see kind of where we're all at as a community, kind of the vibes that we have at the function right now when it comes to our love life currently and how we want to upgrade it. But like I said, for a more personal message, I have these three choices in front of you today. I just need you to choose between the red crystal, the blue crystal, or the clear crystal, whichever one's catching your eye, or if you would like to pause the video, take a couple of deep breaths and feel out which one kind of is calling to you more than the others. All the timestamps will be in the description below, and without further ado, either skip to whichever personal reading you'd like, or we're going to get right into the collective message. So like I said, we're starting here with the collective message if you are interested. Otherwise, if you want a more personal message, please scroll to whichever crystal felt right for you. I do have time stamps in the description below. But starting with this collective message, kind of getting an overall energy, whether you're single or in a relationship or maybe in a confusing situationship, what do you have to do to upgrade your love life? And of course, your bitch got a crystal ball scry for the collective, as she does. And the first thing that I ended up seeing was this image of a lily, and in my mind, after seeing it in the crystal ball, it kind of came out as like a white lily. Looking into the literary meaning of that, lilies signify this purity and this innocence, this rebirth energy, and I get this vibe that wherever you are mentally, physically, emotionally, there is going to be a sort of rebirth with this upgrade. This sort of bringing you back to this innocence. Maybe things have been tainted when it comes to the idea of love and connection for a long time because of different situations you've been in, different past betrayals, different things that have forced you to harden your heart a little bit. And especially with seeing the Emerald card here, which we'll get to in a minute, I just get this vibe that this new energy coming in, or that you're trying to call in now with this upgrade to your love life, is going to take you... I feel like for a long time you've been in this big dog energy, and we're getting back to that baby girl vibe, you know what I mean? More softness and allowing things to come to us rather than bearing down and forcing the hard work to push through, if that makes sense. The other image I got, and please correct me if I'm wrong, y'all might know more about surfing than I do, but one of those like half surfboards that are like a floaty device, more or less. The term wakeboard came to mind. I could be totally misusing it. But I had this image of somebody who was holding on with their arms and laying down with their chest on this wakeboard while their legs kind of lingered behind them. And I get this sense... The metaphor here is the water is the unconscious and the conscious kind of where they meet, right? These emotions that sometimes feel tumultuous enough with that the tides feel like they're pulling us under and it's almost like we're drowning. But at other times we can kind of doggy paddle our way through and find a way to stay afloat. And while I will say, every time you've drowned so far, you have found a way to get back to the surface. So don't let that scare you, if that makes sense. You have the strength to keep popping back up, but I think now it feels like the universe has just slid you a wakeboard. And I think that, or they're about to. And I think that there are two meanings to take from this. One of them being, don't use and abuse this wakeboard as a flotation device when you know how to swim yourself. But at the same time, it's okay to use it when you need a break. I get this image of somebody that's kind of like paddling their way through the water and doesn't know which direction to go to meet land and doesn't even know where they want their destination to be yet. They just know that they want to be back on land again. And like I said, you can use this flotation device as help to guide you and to use for rest, but you don't need to use and abuse it to the point where you're pushing it under to stay afloat. Am I making sense? Kind of that balance energy is coming through here. And I think this is kind of like a metaphor for not just romantic relationships, because we talk about upgrading our love life. Yes, that is majority romantic that we're going to be talking about here. But I think there's also this call that, like, to make your life romantic, make use of the connections that you already have. I know, it's cheesy. I hate saying it just as much as you hate hearing it. But yeah, like I said, just kind of considering using this wakeboard to your advantage, but not using and abusing it. I'm hoping this is making sense. Now let's get into the cards, because this is the bottom of the deck energy of each of the decks that I ended up using for the more personal readings, and I kind of just wanted to see what we could pull out here. So for the Zodiac cards, I was asking for a time frame. Kind of when we can expect our love life to prosper and flourish more in the way we want to. When we can kind of expect the bloom, so to speak. And the bottom of the deck energy here is Mars. Now, this could be a call that it's between like Aries and Scorpio season. I think Aries and Scorpio season could be very big hits when it comes to that kind of thing, if that makes sense. Like big events happening within those times. Or just between Aries and Scorpio season in general. But I do think for some of you, if you are feeling called to, check out what zodiac Mars, or what zodiac sign kind of fits Mars in your natal chart. Because I think that's going to give you more of the personal perspective you were looking for, if you are called to look at it. Remember, this is a collective message, so take what resonates and leave the rest entirely. I also think that with this upgrade, you are going to have this extra burst of motivation. Yes, we definitely see the sexual energy here. I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand, I feel like, if that's your thing, you know, not denoting any of the asexuals that may be present. Maybe you're just here for the romantic side, in which case I would look more at the motivation part of that energy. But I do feel like, overall, within this upgrade of this next level that you're kind of getting into with love, you will find this extra spark of motivation. Whether that be with a specific task, a specific project, or maybe just that lust for life coming back through. In the Emerald card here, I'll read this for you a little bit. Emerald card here, it says harmony and beauty. Emerald opens you up for your/a partner and revitalizes your togetherness. It guides you to harmony and inner beauty. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and buy an emerald. If you have another crystal or trinket of some sort that heralds that kind of heart chakra, unconditional love, luck energy, then maybe that's a call to kind of carry it around you. But otherwise, I would say that you are both stepping into this harmonious, beautiful energy, this kind of becoming more open with other people, or you are being called to currently find a way to open up in the connections that you already have, if that's making sense. I feel like this can also, in a way, go back to that wakeboard metaphor we were talking about, where yes, you can swim on your own, yes, you can doggy paddle to stay afloat, but when somebody offers you a flotation advice, would that not be stupid not to take it, at least as a way to give yourself a break, even if you don't hold on to it the entire time? It's okay to make things a little bit easier, and I know it can be daunting to open up to people, because we don't know always how they're going to react to the information that we give them. We don't know if they may betray us in the future, if they might use this information against us, but also remembering that we have had the strength to go through what we have already. We have had the strength to pull ourselves out alive and stronger than before with each trial and tribulation that we've come across. This will not be any different. If, and once again, only if something were to happen, you would still come out of it alive. You would still come out of it stronger. And that's because that's you, babe. That's not some weird outside force. That's your strength and energy. And I think it's time to recognize that you can be there for other people, but other people can be there for you as well. It's kind of, like I said, it's this heart-opening energy of being able to trust and take things as they come. Now, of course, being discerning with our trust, because we can't go to every Mary, Sally, Jane and tell them our entire life story and hope that they keep it secret for us and also help us at the same time. Hell, not everybody you're going to reach out to is going to offer you assistance. But that's for you to discern and figure out who is there for you and who's there for your energy, if that makes sense. With perspective here, I'm kind of getting this idea that you were holding on too tightly to something, a certain outcome maybe. Whether you are in a relationship and you've been gunning for a while for your partner to propose, or you're not in a relationship and there's a specific person that you're kind of honing your mind on, if that makes sense. In this perspective card, it says, none of this matters, zoom out, common ground. And the image kind of tells all. You know, when we're on this earth, everything looks so big, it looks so vast, it's crazy. I mean, think about from where you are, there are countries that are thousands of miles away from you, etc., etc. But in the grander scheme of it all, we have this giant universe, and the earth is only a tiny speck in the matter. And I think that's kind of something for you to take a look at right now in this period of your life. Maybe certain scenarios or outcomes feel like they are life or death at this time, but this is just a small piece of the puzzle. Might have been a difficult piece to work with, but it's still just a smaller piece of the puzzle. And the struggle that you're going through right now is just a smaller speck of a larger picture. If we think of it in terms of everything we go through has reason to get us to the outcome we desire, then even in this moment, no matter how trivial, or dumb it may feel, has a grander purpose in everything. Just like the earth has a grander purpose in the universe, but is only a small speck within itself. I'm also hearing talk to the stars. Some of you guys may be star seeds within yourself if you subscribe to that. Maybe there's something to do research in there. It might help you come back to yourself a little bit more, or understand something more about your soul and how you see things. But I think overall, what all of these cards are kind of saying is that you are learning something currently that is going to set you up for better success when your life is to be upgraded in terms of love, if that makes sense. All of these situations that you have with your friends, if you do have a lover, your lover currently, and your family, have a grander purpose in the bigger scheme of your grand love story, for lack of a better term. And I think that in the personal messages, we're about to unlock a little bit more of that story and understand what purpose this part of our life has in that bigger chapter. So anyway, I hope this part of the message helped, and I do urge you to go check out the personal message that is for you now. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the personal readings. Hello, my friend. If you chose the red crystal, then this part of the reading is going to be for you specifically. Let's get right into the cards and see what we've got today. We have wait. It's not time yet. Things are being woven. Trust, it pisses me off to hear that too. Don't worry about it. We're in this together, friend. For your crystal card, you've got Garnet, Crisis Management. Your situation is stuck. Garnet solves the chaos and encourages your soul thereafter. It strengthens your confidence in your own power. And I don't believe in coincidences, so I love that we have 2 red crystals here. And then finally, for sort of timing, date, kind of, prediction, we have Aries. There are a couple things to read on the card too as well if you are interested. But already I'm kind of seeing, as a prediction, of course, because our choices can change the outcome, I do think Aries season is going to be pivotal when it comes to the idea of upgrading your love life. And what do I mean by upgrading your love life? I mean, if you are single, finding somebody or getting to the next level with somebody you may be talking to. If you are in a relationship, it's finding the next level of that relationship, whatever that means to you, whatever you are searching for within your love life. If you're not talking to anybody at all, then this is finding the next part of your love life, if that makes sense. So, getting right into it, like I said already, I'm seeing Aries season as being kind of this catalyst of change. This is either the marking point of when things start to pick up within the progression of your love life, or this is a big turning point within the event of the upgrading of your love life. Starting with the wait card here, it kind of says everything it needs to right there. It says it's not time yet, things are being woven. And if you did check out the collective message, if you did not, I would urge you to tune in for a couple of seconds because this kind of ties hand in hand here. It's this idea that nothing that we go through is coincidence or happenstance, that even in this moment you are both learning things and you are growing from things that are helping you to ensure that this next step within your love life is more secure and more stable. That it's something that lasts and that is worthy of you, rather than something that you are settling for or something that was built to break, for lack of a better term. With Garnet here, and even with this Aries energy, I'm just feeling a lot of red. And I'm thinking that that's kind of a call to work with your root chakra a little bit more. Either this group is anxious and overthinks way too much and just needs to take a second to ground themselves and be more present, or it's maybe you are a little too narrow-minded into the present. And I think there's a healthy balance of both here that needs to be worked on. Because it's this concept of only seeing things from where we're at now, rather than being able to understand the broader picture, but also stressing so much about the way that things currently are that it doesn't allow you to see the broader picture. Either way, there's this need to be more present in order to understand how things can develop for your future. An example that comes to mind is maybe somebody who stresses out because they don't get prospects, nobody comes up to them, or at least nobody comes up to them offering what they desire. Maybe it's a lot of situationship activity that goes on, maybe a lot of people that don't really fit the bill of what you're looking for in terms of love. And that's a call to kind of check out, what vibe are we bringing to the function? What vibe are we putting out there? And it's really simple to say that we're not going to settle for something less than what we deserve. But when we're actually put in a situation, do we have that same energy? Are we still accepting things that don't feel right to us because we don't think better is going to come in? And alternatively, maybe there's somebody that's stressing because they have no options coming in. Why does that feel like such a stress right now if rejection is divine protection? If we're not seeing anything, maybe it's not something to do with our energy. Maybe it's the universe working in our favor somehow. And trust and believe, I know how difficult that mindset is, especially when you are in the thick of it. Because it's like, how are you helping me if I'm not having that experience? How are you helping me by keeping me out of everything? And I hate to be the bitch that comes in with a cliche, but the best way that we get to know ourselves is first by spending time with ourselves. And then when the timing is right, putting ourselves back out there to see how we experience and coexist within other people within the universe. Sometimes we need to take that extra time to ourselves to really develop that stability and that understanding of who we are first before we mix ourselves out there and, see how we interact with the rest of the world. I feel like some of you guys may struggle with this people-pleasing, which is also why some of the root chakra energy is coming through to help you become more stable and secure within yourself. I get this vibe, maybe some of you have that chameleon effect, where it's easier to become what other people might assume from you, or take that path of least resistance just because it seems like there's going to be less repercussion in the long run. But if you are still facing that repercussion personally, and I'm not talking about compromise, because compromise is healthy, but we're talking about maybe saying yes to things you really don't agree with because you don't want to make somebody else upset. We're working through that energy a little bit. And I think that's also part of the reason that Aries is kind of coming out here, because we're trying to get more of that. Aries kind of has this leading energy that does not give a shit what other people might think or say about how they pursue things or what they want to do with things. There's a little bit of a leader energy here too, with it being a cardinal sign. And I think within this chapter, you're kind of figuring out that the more that you are strong within yourself, that you are stable within yourself, you have more power and control than I think you've given yourself credit for. But part of that is being present enough to recognize when you are being asked to use that power, or when to recognize when you can lead a little bit more rather than flowing with the group, for lack of a better term. I feel like a lot of you have been experiencing this hanged man energy, where it almost feels like you're in this repetitive Groundhog's Day of the same old, same old. It feels like you're stuck within the spot that you're in. And in order to break out of that, there are things that need to change, but you can only figure out what needs to change if you remain present with where you are. Maybe you've been overworking. Maybe you haven't put enough energy in certain areas where you want to see progress within your life. Maybe you want to make new friends and it feels like you're not meeting any new people. All of these things are things that are within your control to a degree. It's about sitting with yourself and seeing with what makes you unhappy with where you're at now and how you can start to take the steps forward to change those things. And trust and understand, I know that in the moment it feels like this big, heavy burden to have to uproot everything and figure out what all needs to be rearranged in order to feel better. But I'm not asking you to do all of that right now. I'm asking you to take a mental checklist of where it feels like things are stagnant, of where things don't feel like they align with who you want to be or where you want to be in life, and then readjust accordingly. Maybe you feel like you haven't been playing as much or you haven't been exploring as much. You want to try something new. Well, you can always search. Maybe there are dance classes in your area to check out, or pottery classes, for example. Maybe it feels like you've been overworking. Well, do you have the funds at the moment to maybe take some time off from your job, to maybe give yourself a little extra breathing room? Or maybe there's something that you can take off your plate and turn to a coworker and say, hey, do you mind picking this up for me? I've got a little too much here right now. It's okay to ask for help. And the same happens, and the same is true for this scenario of uprooting and looking through your life. Turn to a loved one or somebody you trust and say, hey, I'm trying to figure out what doesn't align. Now, only you will know the answer, but they could help you with some direction. Maybe your friend tells you, hey, it feels like you've been overworking yourself a little too much. What's up with that? And understand that these overworking habits, or maybe overindulgence in some areas of your life, these self-sabotage behaviors that we have, and even those that don't feel like self-sabotage in the moment, are all trying to tell you a message as well. A lot of times we end up falling into these behaviors because we don't want to face what makes us uncomfortable in the moment. And all I'm really asking you to do here is face the discomfort if you are not content with where you are. What is sparking this upset or this lack of lust for where you're at in life? Where are the behaviors that need to change, and how do we adjust them accordingly? How can we add more within our life, and what do we need to detract to be able to add more, if that's making sense? Anyway, I'm going to get a couple of tarot cards here. But overall, the kind of message I'm getting so far is be more present with where you're at. Understand that there's a bigger picture involved here, and if you're not happy with the current state of your relationships romantically, then there is a bigger question to answer. If you are in a relationship and currently you are unhappy and you want to upgrade it further, something needs to change. And if you're not in a relationship, I would highly suggest looking into you and what needs to change within you. Not telling you you need to change, and become a different version of yourself, but take a mental stock of where things don't feel aligned within your life. Is it some of the people you're surrounding yourself with? Is it the activities you're doing daily? Is it the career path that you've chosen? There's something here that doesn't feel aligned, and the alignment of that is going to help you set a better path forward when it comes to your love life. Because at the end of the day, all of the outward chaos that we experience is a reflection of our inner chaos. I know, I sound like a trippy hippie. It makes sense when you're seeing it, trust me. You might get on this train yourself, alright? I used to curse people that would talk like this all the time, and you know what? Now I've fallen victim to it. Let's get some tarot cards here. Strength in the reverse. Five of Pentacles. And let's get one more. Four of Pentacles and Queen of Cups as the bottom of the deck energy. So it seems like you are giving up hope on something. There's this concept of mourning, and I'm hearing pity party, which I know it doesn't feel like a pity party. It feels more tumultuous than that, and I want to honor that for you. There's this, I'm hearing Act 2, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Brene Brown, but if I remember anything from the Act 2, it's that, you have your rising beginning of a story, you start to set up the plot points, and then Act 2 is sort of like that conflict to resolution transition period, if that makes sense. And if you see in this Five of Pentacles card here, it looks like there's this lock open, and the key is sitting right there. She's sitting here wallowing in the pain and the sadness because that is her right to do. But if she were to look up, the key is sitting right here to unlock that door for that destination that she so is craving. And then at the end here, it talks about Four of Pentacles in reverse, which is releasing control a little bit, letting up on this. I'm hearing don't micromanage the universe. So maybe if some of y'all are into tarot otherwise than this, I feel like you keep checking for an answer on something, or maybe when it comes to your partner, if you're trying to upgrade your love life when you're with somebody, maybe you keep talking with your partner about things like, hey, I'm ready to get married. When do we want to do all of this kind of vibe? I'm not saying that that's exactly the situation you're in, but as a metaphor to kind of explain the example here. Feel what you're feeling. Allow that feeling to pass. I'm not telling you to ignore that feeling and tell that feeling like, hey, you don't belong here because guess what? Things are going to work out for me anyway. That's spiritual bypassing. We don't do that. We honor our feelings because our feelings have a message. Feel through this pity party. Feel through this idea of everything is hopeless, everything is ending, because that's where the Act 2 transitions from conflict to resolution. The main character has that moment where it feels like everything is slipping through their fingers, a tower moment, for lack of a better term, where everything just feels like you have to give up because there's nothing to push you forward. It's in this giving up, this giving in of control, this feeling that pain and sadness that you end up looking up and seeing that key. That you end up figuring out what needs to change or be shifted within this present moment to propel you into that new beginning. And with the Queen of Cups here as bottom of the deck energy, this feels like it is an emotional situation, that there is something subconsciously that has been weighing on you, whether that is holding on too tightly to a certain outcome, maybe it's a specific person of sorts, and you keep checking and keep stressing over this specific person coming back, or this specific person making a move, or this specific person asking for your hand. And instead, choose yourself. Fuck, I hate how cheesy that sounded as well, but you have to choose yourself. It is within that energy of stability and calmness and understanding that everything works out in your favor that you will find that key. The Queen of Cups is this emotionally stable, understanding of herself, flowing kind of energy. Rather than swimming against the tides, you let the tides kind of pull you a little bit. And yes, you might go under for a little, but you will float back up again. And once those tides pass, you have clear waters to sail through. It's this understanding that these darker parts of ourselves are not these disgusting, monstrous versions of us. If anything, it's usually just our inner child, our inner teenager sitting there going, hey, this is a danger zone. I don't feel safe here. So I'm going to do something so I feel safer. Whether that be an avoidance tactic of, I don't feel safe here, so I'm going to pull and take more time to my own energy and to pull myself out of the situation, create distance, or the codependent energy of, well, I want this person, I want to know that this person is still here for me, so I'm going to pull a little tighter and ensure that our connection is safe. Both of these ways in their extremes are unhealthy, and they come from these shadow aspects of fear. But when we work through that energy, when we talk to ourselves, when we understand where these triggers are kind of bouncing from, we learn how to work with those triggers better. Rather than pulling away and shutting down completely, you ask yourself, why am I so afraid? Well, it feels like my partner is pulling away, or my partner is overbearing to a degree. Well, how do I communicate that properly for both of us? How can we come to a compromise where I don't just ghost them, but we talk through the situation and find a better outcome for both of us? So, and it's the same when it comes to the codependency aspect. maybe you feel like your partner's been pulling away, so you try to pull them in tighter to ensure that your connection is fine. Well, how can you communicate that without feeling like your partner is a floaty that you keep pushing back into the water? You know, remembering that the key to any good relationship, romantic or platonic or familial, is going to be that communication aspect and figuring out how to communicate and compromise. And I think this part of the journey is working through a lot of that anxiety when it comes to attachment and relationships. It's being so secure within yourself that you are strong enough to communicate things, even if the communication will feel shaky, even if the communication has a huge blow up afterwards, being secure enough within yourself to understand that it's a part of life. We're not always going to communicate perfectly. Even if we are the most healed person in the world, we can never gauge how another person is going to accept or deny our communication. But what we can do is figure out how we feel at the end of communicating what we're feeling. Take a mental check of, was this healthy within the way that I tried to communicate myself? Was it healthy within the way that my partner, my friend, my family member responded to my communication? And then work from there. If it's not healthy and it doesn't feel fair, cut it off and come and wait for something better to come in. And if it goes well, well then hell yeah, that sounds like an upgrade to me. Let yourself feel this loss. Let yourself feel this uncomfortable feeling where you're at. I feel like there are some lessons that have kind of been coming to mind lately. I'm hearing looking back is the only way to move forward. I've heard that a lot recently. And I think that might be part of I think that might give you some of that release in micromanaging the universe. If you look back at the lessons that you've learned past, at the mistakes that you've made, and then recognize the growth and recognize where you won't make that mistake again, or how to correct yourself if you do make that mistake again. Because at the end of the day, what are we here for? We are here to learn and grow. No choice you make, decision you make, or conversation you will have will ever be perfect. But it's about growing together. I think that's most of what I have here. One more thing I will add is creative endeavors might really help you find that lust for life again, if that makes sense. If life has been all work and no play and felt as stagnant as it has, referring to my previous statements of finding a new class to pursue within your town, or even just picking up a paintbrush, even if you've never painted before, and going at a picture and seeing what comes out of it. Creating for the sake of creating, not for an outcome, not to be perfect. But I think within creation, it'll either help you heal what you're currently going through, give you a lust for life again, or some of you guys may be a little more psychic than you think within yourself, and these things that you create might give you a little reference of how to move forward or what's coming for you moving forward. But I think you're going to find a little special magical surprise within anything that you create. So pick up a pencil, pick up a paintbrush, sit at that piano, do something, my love. I feel like you have so much creative energy that's kind of stored within you right now. And if you've been finding yourself doom scrolling, binge watching shows, etc., that is your soul telling you that I want content, so I guess I'll settle for consuming it if I can't create it. So let's shift that mind from consumption to creation. Even if it feels daunting and tiring at first, just sit down and do it for 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking you. And then, maybe it'll kind of get the ball rolling and more motivation will come through that. But anyway, I hope this message helped. I'm pretty sure that's all I have for you today. So if nothing else, thank you so much for staying. Love and light. It was great reading for you. Also, if you are interested in booking a personal reading with me, please check out the link in the description below and check out my website. I would love to read for you. Have a good one. Hello to my blue crystal bitches. Welcome to pile 2 and your reading on how to upgrade your love life. What do I mean by that? If you're single, this is how you're going to meet your next person. If you're in a weird questioning situationship, how do you take things to the next level there? And if you are in a relationship currently, how to take things to the next level to whatever degree the next level means to you. Let's get straight into the cards here. So first I have a zodiac card for kind of like timing, either the absolute peak of this energy or when this energy is going to begin. And for you guys, you got Gemini. So we're thinking Gemini season. Gemini season being, oh, what is it? End of May, early June, I want to say. With it being mutable energy, I'm hearing be flexible. So it could be sooner, could be later, but I think something big's going to happen within Gemini season for this. And let's go a little bit further. Also, look into your third house. I'm kind of getting. There might be something there for you guys. I wasn't drawn to the house part of the card for the other group. So third house being communication energy, being like mental thinking energy. There might be something there for you, or maybe the zodiac which within the third house resides is kind of like when you're going to be communicating with this upgrading energy. But anyway, let's get into the other cards here. We have the Hathors, which talks about deep love, mother's milk, and birth as a portal. Okay. Maybe some of y'all want children. I don't know. I'm not here to judge. And then you guys got for your crystal Fire Opal, passion and spontaneity. You have no kick left. Fire Opal spurs you to veritable firework of cheerfulness and creativity, passion at all levels. So I feel some kind of like sacral energy within this group, which is interesting paired with this communication energy. Maybe this is something to do with how you communicate, or maybe you guys are writers of some sort, whether that be musically inclined with lyricism, poetry, storytelling. Maybe you're really good at drafting like research papers, and there's something about finding your spark back with that. Starting with the Hathors card here. Sorry, it's a little ridiculous to me. I don't know, maybe this is why Spirit doesn't give me this card too often. There's this talk of the divine feminine energy, and I don't want to denote things to gender or gender expression of any sort here. So we'll call it a receptive energy, a nurturing energy. There's this call to A, be more receptive of nurturing, and B, be more nurturing to yourself. There's also this big message here of creativity and passion and pursuing this creativity and passion in some way. And I think for a lot of you, this does involve some sort of speaking. But I'm getting a similar message that I did to the last group of stop micromanaging the universe. There is this, maybe you guys have been very keen on your love life in looking into tarot messages or psychic messages of some sort, or just constantly asking the universe for signs. And there's this idea here of a pleasant surprise and letting the universe pleasantly surprise you rather than knowing what each step of the way is going to entail. For part of this upgrading your love life theme, I think this involves kind of your own personal passion of sorts. And there's this fear here in pursuing this passion, whether it just be for your own entertainment value, your own hobby, your own enjoyment, or letting the world see this thing that you've created or are creating. There's this concept here that this passion project of sorts, as we'll call it, whether it be work-related, related to your hobbies, just something you do as a pastime, that in pursuing that both opens your perspective and your mind, but also sets you forth within the vibrational energy to attract what you desire. Sorry, this woo-woo shit gets to me sometimes too, dude. I try to be pretty practical, skeptical, and grounded. And a lot of these, but you know, everything does vibrate on its own frequency, right? Whether it be music or living beings, everything in this earth is made of energy. The walls of your home, the flowers in your garden are all made of energy, and they're all vibrating. All of these energy particles are vibrating at their own frequency. And it's the same with us. We vibrate our own frequencies as well, depending on our mood, depending on our choices, depending on the vibe we bring to the function. And I think within pursuing this thing that you are passionate about, but so afraid to pursue for some reason, whether that be because of what other people may think or just the outcome of pursuing this fear is keeping you in that fear vibration. And in order to break through and kind of up your game, go for that upgrade, if you will, you kind of need to allow yourself to break through that fear. Because I think it not only aligns you at the vibration to bring in what you desire, but it also gives you this perspective sense of freedom. This idea that even this small thing you can control within your life, even this small thing that you can create, kind of leads you to this perspective of, well, how much more can I create? How much more can I control? How much more can I do now that I'm witnessing my own worthiness and my own power? If that makes sense. When it comes to the crystal card, I'm not telling you to go out and buy fire opal. But any sort of crystals or trinkets that you have that kind of work with this sacral, borderline solar plexus energy, anything that brings you this extra sense of worthiness, maybe it's just dressing for your best, if you will, or anything that kind of brings you back to this spark of passion, this flow in life, rather than this working against it. Those are the kind of things that you want to bring into your energy right now. This could be people, like I said, this could be trinkets that just kind of give you that little vibe. This could be something to set up in your room, for Christ's sake. Why did I say for Christ's sake? This could be something to set up within your room. This could be something that to be displayed within your home. This could be a purchase that you are thinking of making and have not made yet for whatever reason. And then this is your call to make your purchase if you have the budget for it. And if it feels right, then yes, you have the budget for it. I'm also hearing gift yourself. So maybe some of you guys do have a purchase that you've kind of had on the back burner that now Spirit is telling you, like, hey, make that purchase because it will be worth it in the long run. Even if it's just something that sparks dopamine for 2 seconds, hey, this might have a bigger purpose than you know. But anyway, yeah, so I get this energy of something to be created, something to break you out of this fear. I do feel like for a lot of you, this somehow works in tandem with like some sort of public speaking aspect. I mean, it might not just be like sitting there and giving your TED talk to a stage of people or performing karaoke at the bar in front of a bunch of people, but it could also be, like I've said before, like some written work of sorts or some sort of storytelling of sorts is kind of the vibes I'm getting from here. I'm also kind of like torn between these two words I have here of judgmental and flighty. When you find yourself in a space of judgment, I want you to take a step back and ask yourself why you're feeling that judgment. And I'm not talking about like when somebody betrays your friend, so you're like, oh, fuck her, she was an ugly bitch anyway. I'm talking about when you're seeing somebody soar, for lack of a better term, when you're seeing somebody in their element and winning, in a winning season, doing things that are bringing them benefit, you might have a little bit of jealousy that comes through, and that jealousy might turn into some sort of, I'm not saying you're going around talking shit, but you might have some mental judgment that comes through. I want you to ask yourself if there is jealousy here. And if there is jealousy, why? Because jealousy, like any other emotion, is a messenger. And I feel like jealousy is one of the most uncomfortable, I know, for so many people. It's something that we don't want to feel because we feel shame. We feel like a bad person when we get jealous. But I want you to redirect that perspective and start asking yourself, when I'm jealous, what is it that I'm jealous of? Because I feel like a lot of times when we feel jealousy, it's something within us saying that we want that for ourselves. And we're upset that somebody else got it and we didn't because we feel like we deserve it too. Maybe you find that somebody has put themselves out there on the internet and they're making music, and you start to find yourself getting judgmental and pissed off because you're out there making music. Well, what makes you think that you have the right to do that? When in turn we should be asking ourselves, why am I so upset that somebody is living their truth and their dream? Do I want to make music as well? Is that why I'm upset? Or do I want to just put myself out there on the internet and I'm upset that somebody else is doing that first? And then the other one being flighty, I feel like this group has these grandiose ideas, these projects to pursue, these life-changing concepts, or even something as simple as like travel. Maybe there are certain trips that you've like had ideas to plan, but it kind of always falls through. Because there's this extra level of, with this being sort of a red crystal here, I'm getting this vibe of needing to be a little more grounded. There's also this self-expression aspect that we'll get into in a second, but I feel like this flighty behavior comes from planning everything but not planning to the end, if that makes sense. Maybe you have a couple of steps in front of you, but you kind of fall short when you're not seeing either immediate gratification or you don't know the next step to take forward. Rather than taking a second, putting it on the back burner, putting it on a pause, and coming back to it later when things make sense, you kind of just let it go completely and have a lot of, the metaphor that kind of comes through is a lot of like half-assed projects without any result. And I think the other aspect of this flighty energy kind of comes from this lack of expression. I think there's some part of yourself that you're still holding back, whether that be because of some sort of fear of judgment or fear of the outcome of expressing yourself within this way. This could be something within your personality and who you are. This could just be the way that you wear your hair and the clothes that you choose. Or this could be more than that. It's some way that you express yourself, or that you should be expressing yourself, that you haven't been extremely open with. And I think that kind of instills this flighty behavior at times, if that makes sense. Because it's almost like, because you haven't set the roots of who you are anywhere or with anyone, you find it so much easier to dip from a scenario rather than like staying to face the consequence, quote unquote. I get this idea of going back to the trip planning thing. Maybe you start planning a trip with somebody and then they start throwing in their ideas and you don't like their ideas of an activity to do, so you disregard the trip completely and you think that you and your friend are going to fight when you go on this trip, so it's better to just not take that trip in general and cancel the plan, rather than expressing your truth. Having that confrontation and compromise to see, maybe the trip still turns out great. Maybe you compromise and do what your friend wants to, and you don't end up having a big fight because you enjoy what your friend wanted to. Or maybe you have a conversation and compromise, and you and your friend choose not to do that extra activity, and you do something else instead. But like I said, there's a flighty energy here of flying the coop before you even get a chance to see what the outcome could possibly be. This disaster planning of sorts, where you're coming up with an idea of what the outcome is going to be before you have all of the evidence to prove that that's correct. And to be fair, there are times our intuition comes in, doesn't make sense, we need to listen to it. But a good way to kind of figure out intuition to anxiety is, I will always say the line, anxiety screams, intuition whispers. But if you're feeling within your body, your gut feelings are going to be coming from where? Your gut. More like lower abdomen kind of vibe. And then if it's anxiety, it usually manifests more in your chest, if that makes sense. That kind of like fear energy. Hopefully that helps you with a decision that's coming up soon. But yeah, it's kind of working through these energies particularly that are going to help you vibe at the right vibration to attract things into your life. And I feel like some of you guys have this too good to be true aspect that kind of goes in with that receptive energy we were talking about in the beginning, that maybe you guys have been on this vibe of, I work for everything, I make everything happen within my life that I want, I put down all the hard work to get results, where now you're kind of being asked to, A, maybe you've done all the hard work and now we're just watching things come in, or B, maybe a little less work and a little more receptiveness, if that makes sense. I get this like shame guilt vibe coming from you guys, where if you do receive something that feels too good to be true, it can't be true. You know what I mean? And I think you're being asked to redirect that mindset of, rather than this is too good to be true, why wouldn't I deserve this? And not asking yourself why wouldn't I deserve this, but more like reminding yourself that you do deserve good things, and that you do deserve things to be easy. Because the less that you resist the flow with life and you kind of go with the waves as they come in, the easier things will be. Anyway, I am going to get a couple of tarot cards here to kind of explain the situation further. Let's put you over here for now. Let's see what comes out to kind of finish up this reading here. Seven of Cups in reverse. Interesting. I'm also hearing a kind of low vibration right now, so I would be careful for some of you guys who you have within your inner circle. I feel like your intuition has already kind of given you some lights, some siren signs to something that might be like a sort of, I'm hearing the term foul play. So just keep your eye on that. I don't want you to stress about it though. If it doesn't feel like it resonates, remember this is a collective message. But if that does feel like it resonates for you, that there is some sort of foul play within your inner circle, just be wary of it. Don't fixate on it. And remember that these messages are for you in particular, not for every Nancy, Sally, Tom that's out there. But also don't stress too much because things have a way of revealing themselves and working themselves out in the end. So I don't think you're going to have to put forth any energy for this foul play to come to light before it has a chance to hit you, if that makes sense. Last card. Let's see what comes out. Oh, you got two cards, so you know what? And they're all reversed today, my friend. Oh, this is going to be interesting. In terms of upgrading your love life, you might have a lot of, for singles, this might be a lot of like options that come to you. And for those in a relationship, this might be a lot of directions that you can take here, if that's making sense. I don't think it's as simple as having a kid or getting married. There's something else here for those of you that are in relationships currently when it comes to upgrading your love life. Starting here at the Seven of Cups in reverse, I'm getting this feeling that at this point, things feel very muddled when it comes to decision making. It's this concept of being stuck in these clouds and in this fog and not being able to quite see where each direction leads. And I think part of that could be from the fact that, well, it kind of coincides with this Tower in reverse energy of there's a lesson here that's been learned, and with the Chariot in reverse, it feels like maybe for a while or currently you've been reverting to old habits and behaviors of sorts. And that's not to say that this is the way things need to be and the way that things are. Everything can always change. Energy is always changing within each decision we make, each choice we make, each perspective shift that we have. I'm hearing settling. So I feel like for a lot of you guys, the reason that things haven't moved forward within the current position that you are in your love life is because you are settling for something that is less than what you deserve. Whether it be the circumstance of the relationship or a specific person, or if you're single and you don't have a specific person, maybe it's the choices that you have been making in relationships have been, like I said, a lot of this settling energy. I haven't seen anything better come in, so I might as well just take what I have now rather than waiting, because obviously nothing better is going to come in. And it's kind of putting you in this King of Pentacles in reverse energy. Or at least I think this is more of actually the energy that you are attracting currently. I'm getting this like drama vibe. Maybe there's been a lot of drama that's kind of sparked within your love life. This unstable, this escapism kind of energy where you don't want to be in the present position of where you're in. So you try to find ways, whether that be reading, gaming, substance abuse, to not focus on where you're at now. You don't find much enjoyment where you are now because so you try to, as we say, escape it. That's what escapism is. And with the Seven of Swords in reverse here, it feels like there are people around you that are kind of keeping you in that mindset. I'm hearing half-truths and not seeing the full picture. So maybe you've heard things through the grapevine, maybe that kind of coincides with this drama that we've been talking about, that you're assuming more than you're seeing, if that makes sense. Maybe anxiety is kind of taking over and there's this disaster planning coming through here where you're assuming that you're going to have a bad outcome. I'm not quite sure with that. But you don't know the full truth of the situation that you are in. what I can tell you, like I said, is there's this reversion that's been happening. And I think some of the people that you've surrounded yourself with, or some of the telephone game is kind of what's coming to mind. So maybe you've been hearing whispers through other people about what's going on with certain people or with certain situations, and that's kind of made you have the perspective you do currently. Open your mind a little bit. Like I said, you don't know the full picture of what's going on here. And I think that there are a lot of things working behind the scenes right now to have this situation work out in your favor. But I need you to stop reverting to these old patterns and behaviors, because you are past that now. I hate to put it like this, but you do know better. You know that you deserve better. You know that you've been settling for something that does not align with you because your life has not felt aligned with it either. You have been feeling restless and not sleeping well because of this situation that you are currently in, because your soul knows that it's not right for you. Whether you are single and pursuing somebody currently that does not align with your vibe, or you are in a relationship and you want to take it to the next level, but you know that this current situation does not align with you and that it is you settling. And for those of you that are single with no prospects, this is still something or someone within your life that does not feel right or aligned. And it's this thing that pulls you back into old patterns and behaviors, whether it be a codependent behavior or more of an aloof, avoidant behavior. There is some old resurfacing coping mechanisms that do not fit with what you have learned or the current you. Like I said, you have moved past this quite a while ago. If not months, then maybe this is stuff from years ago that's resurfacing. Regardless, you are wiser than that now. And it's okay that we fall back into these old patterns and behaviors every once in a while, because that just shows us how much further we've already moved forward. I just saw 2222 on the clock. There is some balance that needs to be had here. I get this image of like the universe has been taking you by the shoulders and shaking you to try to wake you up. Because that's part of where this depression and this apathy have come in, because you think that this has to be your life now. It doesn't. There's something so much more beautiful on the horizon for you. But first you have to work through this situation that you're in. Whether that calls for a breakup, a break, some time apart, I think you need to take a moment to yourself to really go through your checklist of what you want in a person. Go through your mental checklist of what you are willing to compromise with and what you're not willing to compromise with when it comes to you and your life and your relationships. Because if it's in your heart that you desire something, I truly believe that that is meant for you. But it's about you getting back up to that vibration to meet with it. Because when you are down here, falling into old coping mechanisms and behaviors and such, you're not going to be able to meet at this line. But once you let go of whatever circumstance is kind of holding you back right now, and you work through those old patterns and coping mechanisms again, and you remind yourself what you deserve and where your worthiness stems from, you can find yourself right back up to aligning with what you want to align with. Like I said, I feel like for a lot of you, you already know exactly what and who I am talking about. And it's kind of been intuitively slapping you in the face for a while. And trust and believe, I'm a bitch who has ignored her intuition quite a few times and suffered the consequence as well, which is why I'm telling you the path of least resistance is letting this go. And even if you're going to be alone for a little while, which I know sometimes seems daunting and scary, you are going to find a much better outcome going back to and rediscovering yourself to move forward. Anyway, I think that's the majority of the message that I have here today. If you are interested in, well, let's just sum it up real quick. Communicate, let go of these past behaviors, move forward, and then delve into whatever this creative energy is. You don't have to try so hard for the things you want to come to fruition. Let it happen for you. Things are working behind the scenes right now as it is. That's why you've been getting this intuitive nudge to let go and move forward. But if nothing else, thank you so much for staying for the reading. If you would like to work with me personally, please check out the link in the description. I have a website. You can book a reading with me there. And if nothing else, Love and light. Thank you so much for staying. I hope this message helped. And last but not least, we end our reading and my cold cup of coffee on our pile 3. If you chose this little clear crystal here, then this reading is going to be for you. Like I said, we're talking about upgrading our love life. If you are single, this is talking about how you can bring in the next romantic prospect or prospects. If you are currently pursuing somebody, this is how you take the relationship to the next level or pursue something better. And if you are currently in a relationship, whatever the next level means to you, whatever an upgrade in your love life means to you, this is how we're going to take it a step and a notch further. So without further ado, I have a zodiac card here to kind of give us a prediction of when this energy is either going to peak or when this energy is going to kind of come into your life. And for you guys got Sagittarius. Sagittarius talks about end of November, early December energy. And to go further into it, Archer. Okay, sorry, I got stuck on the Archer for a second, and I'm thinking of that Taylor Swift song, The Archer. You know, I've been the Archer, I've been the prey. Who could ever... Oh my god, I love that song, and I can't even think of the lyrics right now, but maybe there are some lyrics in there for you, if you are interested, or if that seems to have sparked your interest. I know that that song kind of delves into this concept of love and being in the spotlight, but also finding love that is fleeting, and also pursuing for it to be fleeting, or not really feeling seen and then feeling seen in somebody new. There's a lot of stuff to explore there. So if that seems like something that sparks your interest, I would highly recommend going and looking into it. For the other cards here, we have Radocrossite and the Golden Children. Inner child, tenderness, innocence, rare gifts. So let's start with the Radocrossite card here, because there's a lot of pink, which talks about a lot of concept of unconditional love, of love in general, of healing kind of love. The card says sensuality, eroticism, self-doubt, listless. Radocrossite helps you to dance through life. You feel happy, light, sensual, and you radiate sex appeal. I'm getting a lot of songs for this group, a lot of like song message energy, because with dancing through life, there's that song from the Wicked soundtrack. I don't know if you're more inclined to the original Broadway versions or if you're more into the movies that came out, but there's that idea of kind of embodying some of that Fiyero energy. Not all of that Fiyero energy, because we see how that worked out for... I'm not going to give spoilers, but there's this concept of letting loose a little bit more, being a little more playful, you know, dancing through life, not taking everything so seriously into the book. There's no rule board for how you're supposed to play this. Have fun with it. Try new things. Make mistakes. And then here with the Golden Children, it says inner child, tenderness, innocence, rare gifts. Now with this card, this could be a call if you do have children to listen to something that they may have to say to you, or maybe hang out with them a little bit more. Maybe you work with children within your life and you're being called to, if not children, for some of you, I think this has to do with pets and kind of hanging out with your pets a little bit more, finding a little bit more time to play. But there's something about this childlike energy, whether from children within your life or even your own inner child, that kind of needs to come through for you. Like I said, there's this concept of playing a little bit more. And how does that work in terms of upgrading your love life? Like I said, I feel like you have been very serious, very to the book, very let's get things done and let's get things going, how things should be. And I think that we're kind of opening up within healing with this inner child, within playing a little bit more, with hanging out with the children in your life or the pets within your life, to this concept of things don't need to be one way. There are more ways to explore things, and there are ways to have fun even if we're falling into boredom. Something that might align with this group is maybe in school maybe you just were bored a lot, or you didn't really play or follow by the rules. And it was hard for you to kind of work through that strict energy. And I want you to start seeing this as a blessing and a gift rather than a curse. This concept of being different, not being able to do things by the rules, gives you this ability to create your own rules and to create your own path forward, which at times can be daunting and scary. I mean, you don't have a playbook to go by like quote unquote everybody else. but it gives you more freedom to explore. And yes, with those explorations do come a bit of failure and a bit of tumbling and falling down and scratching your knees or whatever, what have you. But you heal, recover, take the wisdom you've learned from the situation and move forward. There's also a call to kind of check out something within your sun sign. Maybe some of you guys are Sagittarius with this. That doesn't have to resonate. Take what resonates and leave the rest. But there's something to work with your sun sign. And when we talk about astrology and zodiacs, your sun sign is kind of the one that everybody goes to as the go-to. The day of your birth kind of coincides with your zodiac sun sign. You know what I mean? And when we talk about sun sign specifically, the one that everybody focuses on, that is our ego. That is kind of our outward presentation into the world, who we show up as, like I said, in our ego, in our more basic self. Cancer might be more, you might be more of a nurturing person. You might be more of a kind and loving. Capricorn, you might be more dedicated to the grind, to getting the job done. Sagittarius, you might be a bit of a traveler, a bit of a party person. Aries, you might be a little more impulsive and quick to judgment. And Aquarius, you might be off in your own little world and have creative ideas that just pull out of nowhere and don't fit to what everybody else is thinking. There's something within your sun sign to kind of work with here. Whether that be finding a way to integrate more fun coinciding with that energy, or allowing that energy to kind of flow through a specific area of your life. Like if you are a Sagittarius, maybe finding a way to incorporate more spontaneous social activity, or more of like a party vibe within the things that you do. Maybe that's collaborating a little bit more and finding a way to have fun when it comes to work. Or if you are a Gemini or a Libra, maybe finding a way to add socializing more to your calendar or within the things that you do. Like I was saying, like teamwork kind of vibe there. Or if you are a Capricorn, how do you... I hate denoting Capricorn to monetizing because your girl's a Capricorn, but like maybe it's talking about monetizing a hobby of yours that you're very good at in some degree. I'm also getting that you guys might have a special relationship with the sun, if that makes sense. There might be a call to kind of, if your sleep schedule is off and you find yourself more awake at night, finding some time within the day while the sun is out to just either simply sunbathe or tan, however that resonates to you, like standing outside and just, even for 5 minutes, kind of letting the sun's rays refill you, or just finding more time to be outside when the sun is up in general. Whether that's a quick walk, going out and playing with a pet, hanging out with a friend at a park. I do recognize that at the time that I'm recording, there's still snow on the ground, but hey, nothing to say that you can't bundle up and still have a good time. There is something about getting outside a little bit more that I think is going to help your mood currently, and also help with this little bit of healing and finding this spark for life again, which seems to also be a theme throughout the readings. I'm seeing some heavy healing that needs to be done within this group. From situations of the past, like certain connections, whether it be romantic or platonic. And I think for some of you, bit of a trigger warning, some sexual connections that have kind of plagued you or put you in a place of fear or doubt, or like you can't trust certain people or situations. There's this heavier energy within the sacral chakra that I think is part of this block within your ability to flow through things and to trust things unfolding, if that makes sense. And I think this is, I'm not telling you what to do or how to pursue anything. Your healing is your healing on your own. But I think if you're getting signs or you're remembering these certain situations that come to mind, maybe exploring that a little bit. I would also say that if you are in therapy currently, talking with a therapist about it. If you are not in therapy currently, whether or not you have trauma, I highly recommend talking to somebody, just because I feel like all of us can benefit from therapy at the end of the day. Whether or not you think you can, trust and believe that it will surprise you. But like I said, there is quite a bit of healing here with both your sacral and your heart chakra. And I think that this healing will kind of help them balance and work together as well. For some of you, you might be either over-sexualized or under-sexualized due to some of the trauma that you have experienced, if that makes sense. You might be a little wary to sexual connection with certain people, or you might be overly sexual to kind of make up for that. It's a pendulum, truly, when it comes to our healing with things like that. And I think that there is something for you to personally explore and work through here. And I know that that seems scary, but I do trust me when I say you are not alone. You would not be asked to handle this completely in solitude. There are either people in your life that you can depend on and trust now and talk through these things with, or like I said, maybe this is something for therapy to go through and work through, but you will not be alone in handling this situation. As long as you are open to the communication and you do lean on the people that you know you can trust to support you, you will not be alone in handling this. Because I do feel like there is some heavy energy to both purge and release and work through. But trust that you are strong enough to do this and that you will come out even stronger and feel more stable and secure with yourself when you do. When it comes to the crystal card, I am not telling you to go out and buy rhodochrosite. I'm not going to tell you to sit there and buy anything if you so choose not to. I will say that this stone is very helpful within itself, but really any stone working with the heart chakra and or the sacral chakra is going to help you right now. If you want to go buy stones, or if you have the crystals on hand. Otherwise, really any trinket, clothing item, anything that kind of works with that energy for you. This could also be energy through friends. People that make you feel loved and also help you flow better within life. I think there are certain connections that you have currently that help you feel like you're dancing a little more than struggling through life, and those are the kind of people to depend on and ask for a listening ear if you need, or just hang out with and see if the energy rubs off on you a little bit. See the kind of things that you can take and learn and grow from these people. With you choosing a clear crystal, I have a feeling that you are going to start seeing things a lot more clearly within this year, whenever you are watching this video currently. It's a timeless reading. They all are for me. I think also some clear quartz would help you if you don't currently have clear quartz. There's something here about unlocking a deeper version of your power throughout this transformation that you are going to be going through. Throughout this healing, you are going to be, like I said, thinking a lot more clear, seeing things a lot more clearly, but also amplifying your strength in a certain way, amplifying your power in a specific way. This could be a specific venue of your life or just personally within yourself. There's some sort of part of your power, whether that be your feeling of worthiness, your confidence to move forward, your psychic abilities. Something is enhancing here. And I'm also kind of seeing, with all of these people being here on that concept of you are not alone, I feel like you have either garnered other people like you within your life, or you are going to be attracting more people that either see things in a similar way that you do, or somehow just speak your language, kind of understand some of the struggles that you have been through to a degree, and also just the way that you perceive things, create things. You're kind of honing in on calling in more souls, or you have more souls around you than you realize that align with the energy that you want to bring forward, the energy that you want to pursue, the energy that you want to call within your life. I feel like this group in the past could have been one of those groups that, like, I feel like a lot of you guys have the ability to get along with other people very easily, regardless of whether or not they align with you. But now you are both being more selective in who you keep in your inner circle to make sure that these people align with your values, but you're also finding more people that fit that certain vibe that you're trying to bring to the function. With Sagittarius being here, I usually have this call, I should say, to also bring up this concept of travel. And that if there is a specific place that you've been wanting to go to recently, or a specific place that's been calling you for a long time. Maybe this is somewhere that you've been thinking of since you were a child or within the past year or anything like that. Maybe it hasn't even hit yet. It might come forward soon, the place that you should be traveling to, even if it's just for a visit. For some of you guys, this might be a move of some sort that you're being called to make, but I think for a lot of you guys, it's just going out and exploring more, or going out and exploring this specific place is going to lead you to something special, whether that be the upgrade within a current connection that you have, or finding somebody that feels like it fits what you've been looking for. Without further ado, let's get into some tarot cards to kind of clear up and finish up this message. Ooh, that was loud. The Fool. The Knight of Cups in reverse. And let's get one more. Temperance in reverse. And the Page of... Yeah, okay. Page of Cups in reverse. Sorry, I thought I had another turnaround there. Starting with this Page of Cups in reverse, I think it goes hand in hand with this concept of taking things too seriously, limiting yourself in a certain way. Maybe you've been following more practical goals recently because you don't think your dreams can come true. But if you look at the Page of Cups upright, there's this talk of like, when pigs fly. I think you're being called to allow yourself to dream of that life when pigs fly. The thing that you didn't think was going to happen or didn't think could happen. You're not being asked to settle for something that feels so safe or settle for your second option. You are still being asked to have those dreams, to pursue those dreams, even if it feels like it can't happen, because I think that you're more capable of making this thing happen than you've been giving yourself credit for. If we start with the Fool here, it does talk about taking a chance on something, about letting the universe catch you, about jumping off the cliff and, there's water below if nothing else, but the universe is going to catch you before you can even hit it. And that fall might feel terrifying, but if you're going to be caught anyway, and even if you're not caught midair, you just fall into the water below and you know how to swim because you've Because you've swam into the depths of who you are. I feel like a lot of you guys have done a lot of working with your shadow and working with these darker parts of yourself and facing a lot of these obstacles. When I use the term of like the water, I think of our subconscious. I think of the metaphor of, when we feel like we're drowning or there are waves of emotion that are overtaking us. And like I said, if the worst that's going to happen is that you fall within the water and you have to fall to the depths a little bit to understand another part of yourself, you can doggy paddle up to the shore again and then take a leap again. You take what you learn each time you take these leaps of faith. These failures are not meant to consume you so much that you think you have to settle for a life of content when there is happiness on the horizon. These failures occur so you can take the knowledge and the wisdom you have learned each time that you have fallen and gotten yourself up again, so you have a better chance the next time. Every time you fail is not to set you back. It's to help you progress a little bit forward the next time. And I know that if we fail a million times over, it starts to feel hopeless, it starts to feel worthless. But if we have to take a step back, take some time to ourselves before we try again, that none of it's lost. None of this time is lost. This time it has purpose. These lessons have purpose. Like I said, I feel like you are made to succeed in making some of these grandiose dreams come true. To the degree that you want them to come true is up to the energy that you want to put in and the wisdom that you want to take from each time that you've fallen. Knight of Cups in reverse talks about this rose-colored glasses aspect of things, and with Temperance being in reverse, I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand with this impatience. That maybe you guys want to give up on a specific thing or a certain outcome or settle here because you're getting impatient with seeing progress because you've idealized how things should be rather than just going through the motions of giving an attempt, if that makes sense. You might have tried something and things kind of fell through and did not work out within the way that you wanted them to. And if we can readjust our perspective, as hard as it is, and as cliche as it is, and as annoying as it is, to remind ourselves that these things happen for us, rejection is divine protection, we can start nitpicking and figure out what we've learned from these scenarios and what happened here that will help us for the next time that we try something. Whether this be just about a romantic connection and trying to find the right romantic connection for you, or a specific project that you want to see pursued into something greater. Because I do think that a lot of these energies of like pursuing our dreams and finding romantic connection do go hand in hand, because to a degree it's our vibrations, our energy levels. You're vibrating low, quote unquote, thinking that you're worthless and you don't deserve something, you might be attracting more of that energy within your life. But if you remind yourself in these lower vibrations, let yourself feel it out and go through it. Sometimes that's why we are alone rather than pursuing something new, so we can get back on those higher vibrations. You'll slowly, as you remind yourself of your worthiness, as you remind yourself of your lessons you've learned, as you remind yourself of the work that you've put in, find yourself back on that higher vibration to bring the things in that you truly desire and that you truly deserve. Like I said, there's a little bit of an impatience energy here. Perhaps a little bit of a overindulgence too, whether that be in some sort of escapism, like playing video games, reading too much without putting in effort of action or creation, substance abuse, or escapism in terms of overworking yourself, overworking on a specific project. There's something that needs to be felt here. There's something that needs to be realized. I'm hearing, you guys are really a song group here. I'm hearing Alone in a Room by Asking Alexandria. So that could be another song for you to look into. But I know that the concept of the song is the singer is talking about how he finally dulls out all the noise, stops doing things, and just sits with himself alone in a room, because that's where he gets the answers of what is wrong within his life, of the things that need to change. That is where he finds the answers of how he can inspire change to move forward. Sometimes it really is as simple as just getting in your car, listening to some music, and letting your mind kind of wander a little bit, letting yourself feel somewhere where you feel safe being able to pour out your emotion. Because a lot of times after we've avoided the emotion so long, we finally feel the tumultuous wave take over us and the water is clear again. All of a sudden, that wave that cascaded down and was about to drown us did not feel so heavy because we've let it pass rather than trying to paddle away from it as fast as we can. Because that's the thing. When you're trying to paddle away from this wave, it will eventually overtake you. The wave is going to be faster. But if you let it just, if you flow with it, if you let it just take you, you'll find that it wasn't as scary as when you were trying to paddle away from it. Like I said, I think a big thing for you guys, also coinciding with both of these being in reversed, is that you've been so serious about things. And I know that when we are plagued with serious scenarios in our life, whether that be financial, familial, whatever comes to mind, it can make it seem like play should be on the back burner. We have to get serious about this in order to fix things. But I truly believe that there's always a place for play. There was a quote that I've been using for a while. And I'm going to slaughter it when I say it because I can't quite remember it offhand, but it's the concept that in the darkest times, sometimes even joy is an act of rebellion. And trust and believe, I know that we are in a dark place in this country, in this society, in this world, but that doesn't mean that we can't find the little things to spark joy. And I know it's cliche. It's making me gag how cliche it is. Blech! But there are people, pets, loves within your life already to find joy in and to find ways to enjoy the moment. Wary of romanticism, I will say again, but also remember that you do need dreams to keep striving for. I feel like you guys might be a big group of daydreamers, and I don't think that that's by accident. I think that's by design. Because I think that you are the kind of person that is meant to make your dreams a realized reality. For singles, I would say that there's a call to be a little bit patient here, and that you need to give yourself a little bit more of a chance when these romantic options do come forward. Give a shot to certain things, but also keep your discernment in mind. Like, it's not bad to go on one date as long as your intuition is telling you that it's okay. You're not committing to somebody after one date. Just give yourself a chance to try something. But at the same time, keep those rose-colored glasses off. See things as they are. Discern. Use your eye to see the situation for what it is, not the potential of what it could be. And in turn, if you are in a relationship, is a very similar message of look at things as they are, not at the potential of what they could be. And I think for some of you guys in a relationship that there is something to take a chance on here when it talks about upgrading your love life. This might be a conversation you need to have with your partner, or a conversation you need to have within yourself to figure out what the next step feels like to you, and does the next step feel right in this relationship? And if it feels like your relationship has kind of been souring because you've been in this stuck energy, in this hopeless energy, in this feeling like you have to settle for contentment rather than happiness, that's a huge call for some self-reflection here, to ask yourself, what is making me feel that way? And am I pushing that into my relationship, or is my relationship becoming a factor of it all? I'm not telling you to break up with anybody right off the drop of a dime. I'm telling you to consider the situation that you have currently. And like I said before, there is quite a bit of healing to do on a couple of different fronts here. And I would highly advocate for this group to look into therapy as an outlet for that. And if not therapy, if that's not something that's accessible to you, self-help books might also be of good help. And before you write them off, self-help books made me who I am today, bitch. Trust and believe they have more knowledge and wisdom than we ever give it credit for. But yeah, you might also have a friend who could really help inspire some sort of perspective shift, or give you... For some of you guys, there is a friend who is completely unfiltered that maybe you've been avoiding talking to them about this. You need to let their unfiltered attitude kind of help you see things as they are, if that makes sense. I do feel like for some of you guys, you are going to be calling in some lessons once you take this chance at something, whether this chance is the project that you are to pursue, the sort of creative outlet to give yourself a chance on, or even just the concept of dating and going out in general. There are going to be some options there that do not align with you, but you will be attracting multiple options because of the energy that you will be in. And like I said, it just goes back to this concept of have fun with it. Don't stress. Just because you're talking to somebody or go on one date with them does not mean that this is the person that you're going to marry. But the experience helps. And the social connection might surprise you a little bit more too. Remember to just go in with a discerning eye, see things as they are, not as they could be. And kind of allow yourself to enjoy it as the experience presents itself. And for those of you who are daydreamers and might maladaptively daydream to an extent, being more present in these scenarios rather than creating the future outcome where you and this person that you just started dating get married and have babies and blah, blah, blah. Enjoy the now. Enjoy, for some of you guys, I'm seeing very much a slow burn coming through. Let that burn slowly, because it's gonna be stronger than anything that you've experienced before. And that's also kind of a message for those that are pursuing somebody or in a relationship currently as well. If it feels like things are moving too slow for your liking, maybe that's by design. Maybe that's so you see something you wouldn't have seen if it moved too fast. Or maybe that's what makes this a stronger, more stable connection. Because, you know, recognizing souls and having that, oh my god, I've known you in another life connection might feel fiery and passionate at the time, but you really can only love somebody within time. You need that time to show you that you can trust somebody. You need that time to get to know somebody truly. So let's work on this impatience a little bit. Trust and believe that things are working out in your favor and everything will unfold as it is meant to. And God freaking forbid, like I said, have a little more fun, even if that's just coloring a picture for 5 minutes at the end of the day before you go to sleep. Whatever feels like fun to you, add a little bit more of it in your life, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever you can make space for. But if nothing else, if you are interested in booking a personal reading with me, please check the link in my description. It'll take you to my website. I would love to work with you. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for staying, love. I hope this message helped. Love and light. Have a great day.